G'day, how you doing? Adam here from Poseidon Racing with another video in this series, which is the ultimate beginner's guide to Zed Run. Let's not mess about with all that intro stuff. Let's get straight into it. Today we're talking about thoughtfully buying your first or maybe your second horse to what you think is your vision towards the game. Where will the game be in 2 or 3 years? And that's what I recommend thinking about so that you can thoughtfully buy your second, third, fourth, fifth horse. Now, often we rush in and just buy any old horse originally just to get into the game, and normally that horse kind of sucks. Isn't much of a horse. We probably pay too much money for it, but we learn a little bit about the game and we learn enough to know that we want to take the game more seriously, build our stable and buy a few more horses. So in this video, we're going to talk about thoughtfully purchasing horses that fit the vision that we have for Zed Run. Let's jump over full screen and check it out. Okay, so here we go. We're actually at OpenSea. So if you go to OpenSea.io, click the Explore button, and then you'll see in the left-hand column here, we have a few different fields that we can fill in. Don't worry too much about status and price just yet. If you open up the collections folder there by clicking that little arrow, we'll type in here, just type in Zed, and you'll get Zed Run. Now, occasionally you do see some fake scammy horses. Now, what you need to be aware of is there might be another Zed Run. It might be called Zed Run with a full stop. Just be a bit careful. Just assume that everyone's trying to sort of take your money off you and scam you out of your money in crypto at the moment. There's a lot of good people in Zed Run, and Zed Run itself is an incredible game, but just be aware, you want to keep an eye out for the scammers. And if I click on one of these horses here, one thing that you can keep an eye out for, if it says Zed Run with this big blue tick, it's a verified collection. If we click on that big blue tick, it will tell you what verified means. So this is someone that OpenSea trusts. If this was a scam horse from another collection called Zed Run with a full stop or something similar to Zed Run, it shouldn't have that blue tick. So that's a good sign that you're on the right style of horse there. Now if we go back, we've got the Zed Run collection, and you can see up here, currently as I make this video, 30-odd thousand horses. Now as breeding opens up, that will quickly move to 50, 100, 250,000 horses in no short time. Now we don't want to go through all of these horses individually, but luckily on the left-hand side here we have a bunch of filters. This will really help you to sort of fit these horses to the style of horse that you're looking to build your stable. Now before we get to those filters, have you been thinking about, what your niche is, what your angle is, what style of horse you would like to buy that fits your budget, how many of those you would like to buy, etc., etc. Let's go through a couple of these filters here. You can see we've got collections. If we come down here to, these next ones don't really matter. Chains, categories, on sale, don't worry about that. When we get down here where these sort of folders here, if we click on bloodline, you'll see we've got, of course, Buterin, Finny, Nakamoto, Szabo. Okay, and in previous videos we discussed what the differences were, to the best of our knowledge, within those different bloodlines. So have you sort of thought about which bloodline might suit you the best? Now generally, the Nakamotos are a little bit more expensive and a little bit more consistent as racers. We're not too sure. I'm assuming myself that they also make very good breeders, but we don't know that for sure yet. And then of course, as you come down the line, you've got Szabo next, and they are also the second most expensive generally. Maybe the second best racers on average. Finny, slightly less expensive than the Szabo and the Nakamoto, slightly less consistent racers, I suppose, and then the Buterin at the bottom. So essentially, we spoke about that, but have you had to think about which bloodline you might like to specialize in, or are you looking for one of each or a couple of each to sort of spread out and cover all bases? Or do you want to be a Buterin racing and breeding specialist or a Nakamoto racing and breeding specialist? These are all questions that you need to have a little bit of an answer for as to what steps you would like to take and where you would like to end up within Zed Run in a year or two. Now, we need to ask those same questions as we come down these folders. If we close bloodline, we can open up breed type. And you can see Genesis, Legendary, Exclusive, Elite, Cross, and there's one more, Pacer there. Genesis, of course, are the original guardians of the DNA released from the Zed Run website. The limited edition Genesis, if you like. There's only 38,000. There'll only ever be 38,000. In fact, the usable Genesis will probably start to diminish as a certain amount of the wallets that hold those Genesis are lost. So there'll only ever be a maximum of 38,000, but probably as the years go by, we might start losing access to a whole bunch of those as well. So they'll be very limited. Now, have you thought about, is it Genesis that you would like to build your stable upon? Now, Genesis, again, are the most expensive at the recording of this video. And then as we come down, Legendary, of course, are born from 2 Genesis horses. When 2 Genesis horses breed, we get a Legendary. Now, I kind of consider the Legendaries as the starting point for breeding. So potentially you could also get a lot of value. If you think that might be your niche, you might start collecting Legendary bloodlines from some of the better horses. Because to collect a Legendary bloodline from the greatest horses in Zed Run is much, much cheaper than actually acquiring the greatest Genesis horses in Zed Run. And then you can start breeding from the Legendaries rather than breeding directly from those Genesis. That could be a very good situation or a very good tactic. I'm not sure whether it is. You need to decide that for yourself. And then as we come down, the exclusive is the next level down from Legendary. So when a Legendary is bred, the offspring are exclusive. And there's some interesting little aspects to the exclusive and the elites, because the female exclusive and the female elites can hold that breed type if bred with a Genesis male. So again, those those exclusive fillies and mares, the females, and the elite mares and fillies, the female elites, can also be a little bit higher in value for that reason, that they can, or actually do, produce exclusive and elite offspring. They hold the breed type right where it is if you have a female exclusive or elite and breed it with a Genesis male. So you could also structure yourself to be an exclusive breed type breeder. An exclusive breed type breeder. So fill your stable up, for example, with a couple of Genesis studs maybe, and a bunch of exclusive females. You could even fill your stable up just with, say, 5 or 10 exclusive females and pick the best studs out of the public stud barn. Because, of course, when breeding opens, the Genesis horses, or all the male horses in general that are intended to be breeding, go into the stud barn. And if you have a bunch of exclusive females, you can start cherry picking the best ones, producing offspring, and make your name as a great exclusive breeder. And those exclusives are generally a little bit cheaper than the Legendaries, which are of course cheaper than the Genesis. And then if your budget is not quite at that level, then you could come down to the elite level, look to purchase some quality elite females, and do the same thing as I just explained with that exclusive level. You could also pick up, for example, the exclusive studs, the exclusive males, undervalued. You could pick up a bunch of really good exclusive males, breed them down to the next elite level, and then start setting up your elite level females to breed those elite level horses. Okay, there's lots of different ways to split this off for all different types of budgets. You could even come down to the cross and the pacer level. We don't know much about those levels, but you could potentially look to start specializing in producing really great cross and pacers. I'm not sure about that tactic, to be honest, but I'm sure it's viable. If you get it right. I don't know what the right path is. You need to have a think about that and think about what style horses are going to suit the budget and suit your vision for the future, for a year or two in. Where do you want to be placed? Maybe you just want to be a pure racer and you're going through these lists looking for the best races that are undervalued, buy them up, and then look to breed the best racers with the best racers and maybe produce some more champion races. Okay, the greatest races tend to be a little bit more expensive than the than the not great racers, the donkeys if you like, but the donkeys can occasionally produce a champion racer. So we don't know. Where does that champion racer come from when two ordinary donkey type horses breed? Two loser horses that aren't very good at racing, and they produce a super champ horse. Is that coming from the genetics back, you know, the grandparents and the great-grandparents, or is that coming from some random sort of element within the breeding? We don't exactly know, but if you can develop a bit of a vision and a bit of a hunch for what might work, that's what you want to be buying towards, I think. Or you could just sort of spread yourself out as well. Maybe you want a couple of Genesis and a few Legends and a couple of exclusives and a couple of good races and a few donkeys, and sort of spread out and see what works, rather than really specifically going at one target. Okay, so we had bloodline, we talked about that, we talked about breed type being Genesis, etc. Coat colour, you know, do you have a favourite coat colour? And again, you can go back to the coat colour video. Maybe you want to be a specialist, super rare coat colour breeder. And maybe racing ability doesn't really matter. So you go around picking up all the cheapest super rare colours with an idea to breed them together and produce super rare babies. Could be viable. Who knows? Do you have a favourite colour? Maybe you want to be the go-to that produces all the absolute zero horses. You just want a stable full of absolute zero. You know, males and females, breed them and breed as many absolute zero babies as possible. Could that work? Maybe. We don't really know, but they're the decisions we need to make when we're buying a horse here. And then, of course, gender. The difference between, so you've got colt and stallion here. Colt, stallion being the male varieties and filly and mare being the female varieties. The difference between those is colt is a male horse that is yet to breed, hasn't yet had any offspring, and a stallion is a male horse that has had some offspring. Okay? Same with the filly. The filly is the female horse that is yet to have any offspring, and the mare is a female horse that has had offspring. So again, on that level, you can go around looking at the mares and the stallions that are undervalued. Okay, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. The ones that are maybe undervalued, and you can click on them, do some research and see if you can find a mare or stallion that is producing, you know, a good winning horse, maybe 1 in every 5 or 1 in every 6, but isn't a great racer itself. And you could find a little bit of value there and use that horse to continually breed. Hopefully it continues to produce those great horses. Maybe it doesn't, maybe it was just pure luck. Again, we don't know, But I will show you some tools to do your research when you're buying as well. Genotype, of course, we've got the Genesis being the Zed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It doesn't necessarily, or it doesn't guarantee a Genesis. For example, a Z5 is not always a Genesis. So if you click on here and you want a Z5, you're also going to need to specify which breed type you want that to be. Do you want it to be a Genesis, a Legendary, Exclusive, Elite, Cross, etc., etc.? Because you can get a Legendary born from a Z2 and Z3 Genesis, would make a Z5 Legendary because it's additional of the numbers. Z2 plus Z3 equals Z5. And one step away from that Genesis breed is, of course, Legendary. And so you need to specify that as well. So again, you could go for Legendary Z10s or something like that that were born from 2 Z5 Finnies. You might want to be a Z10 Finny Legendary collector of some of the best racing bloodlines. Okay, and I think at this point, maybe you would get them reasonably cheaply, because at the moment everyone's kind of caught up and frothing over the Nakamotos. So the Nakamoto Legendaries tend to go reasonably expensive. But at this very point, at the recording of the video, the Szabos, the Finnies, and maybe even the Buterin Legendaries are, in my opinion, a bit undervalued right now. Now that may well change and you need to do that research yourself. Okay, but those different Legendaries, if you consider, like I do, that the Legendaries might well be the starting point of all breeding, of course the Genesis and the Genesis breed together, and the first offspring being the starting point is a Legendary, maybe you can position yourself to collect some really nice Legendaries, whether or not they're great racers or you're just collecting certain bloodlines. I don't know whether donkey races with good bloodlines are a good investment and can produce high-level horses. Well, we know they can, but I don't know at what type of consistency, whether it be 1 in 100 or 1 in 5 or 10. Okay, so that's genotype. And then you can go as far as birthday. I don't know why you would want to know when the birthday of a horse was, but now at the time of recording, these lower categories, number of races, race class and win percentage weren't working last time I checked. So if I go up to 50 odd races, they work to a degree, but you can see none of the horses are for sale. So if for some reason it takes all the horses for sale out of the equation, you can see if I put that back to 0, back to 0. Why is it going back to 1? I want 0. Okay, let me just come back here. So that's glitched out a little bit, won't let me type in 0, which is meaning that I'm not seeing all the horses because of that glitch. So come back in here. I just click back on the OpenSea icon there, come back in here, type in Zed Run. Okay, and we have all those menus back. So try these out, but it might glitch out. You can see here that I have all these horses and I can sort them over here by low to high. And the problem being at the moment, these filters were working a couple of days ago, but when we type in win percentage, and this hopefully this comes back soon because it's really, really good. And you can see even the 0 to max win percentage is a bit skewy. Like there's horses above 13%. So why isn't it letting me go up there? And you can see when I do that, all the horses for sale disappear and it's just these non-for sale horses that come back. And then it won't, will it let me reset that? I want to delete that away. Did you see that up there? Up here are all the different criteria. So if I set that win percentage, I forgot about that, it pops up here. Okay, and I delete that out of the way. Okay, so that's pretty easy to delete out of the way. Now, let's assume that we're looking for legendary finnies. We mentioned they might be good value. I haven't looked at them for a long time, but let's see. Let's type in exactly what we want here. So bloodline, finny, beauty. Come down to the next one. Breed type, legendary, perfect. Gender, doesn't really, I'm happy with either. I'm happy with either. Genotype, I'm happy with any genotype at this stage too. These filters, as I said, aren't working. And if we come over here, price low to high, that's where I generally like to start. You could even, another place to start actually, which can be really fruitful, can be recently listed. All right, so they're the horses that a lot of people maybe haven't researched yet. And you can potentially, if you see one within your budget, you can start doing the research and maybe snavel that up because it might be undervalued. If you've been watching the market for 2 or 3 weeks, you'll get a good understanding of where the value of a particular breed type bloodline might be. And then when you see one, you go, oh, wow, 10% winner in paid races, etc., etc., etc. This one looks really great value, okay? So recently listed, let's stick with recently listed. Now there's a few tools that I like to use and I've got them open up here. You've got, of course got 𝐁𝐞𝐿𝐢𝐽𝐵, finding that difficult to say, aren't I? zed/nucleus.com/OpenSea. This is where you can get the recent prices. I'll put a link to this website in the description below. Now never connect your wallet unless you completely trust these websites. And I don't think there is anywhere to connect your wallet, your MetaMask wallet on this website, but please don't connect your wallet to any of the links that I give you below, just in case they're corrupted or something happens. I trust them, but you never know what might happen in 6 or 12 months, okay? So just use them visually, but don't sort of connect into them in any way, or never give away your passwords or seed phrases or connect your wallet to any site that you don't 100% trust. If we scroll down here though, you can see active listings, so you can see what you're up against for a particular breed. You can even do some research here. So for example, if we say we want finny, and legendary, and you can see we can also add some more entries like 50, and you can see here we go, you've got win percentage that you can keep an eye on, You can also go by races, and if you click any of these sort of categories, if I click race, it will realign that based on how many races they've had. If I click on win percentage, once it will start at 0, twice it will start from the best. So, you know, here we go, Gladiator 2 ETH for a Finny Z10 with a 12% win rate after 112. And it's also a rare car. I think Royal Blue might be rare, is it? Can't remember off the top of my head. Alice Blue is. Okay, so you can have a look there, all right, and then try and find that on OpenSea. And if we scroll down, you can also see recent sales, which is even more, will give you even a better idea of what you should be paying. So Finny, not Genesis, we wanted Legendary. Don't worry about the Z type, although if you did have a particular Z type in mind, you could narrow that down too. Particular gender, you could narrow that down. And then you can have a look at the types of horses that have recently sold and measure that against the type of horse that you're currently looking at. So that's a great site, 𝐁𝐞𝐠𝐢𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐫𝐬. There is also another one that I like, which is Know Your Horses. So, for example, let's just grab that, and whoop, we can sort of make two windows here. There we go, that looks nice. And we can grab that one. Whoop. Minimize that. And we can put another window here. This is how I like to set myself up. All right, we've got the horses on the left there, and we've got Know Your Horses on, we've got the OpenSea horses on the left and Know Your Horses on the right. Okay, so you can also click on the individual horse on OpenSea and you'll see the price, you'll see any current offers, you can click on properties, okay? Click on properties. Another way to tell if you're looking at a potential fake horse or not is if these genotypes and stuff and the coat colours are in the one, sort of down around 1% range, all right? Or depending, the genotype, depending which genotype it is, could be slightly higher, but the coat colours will normally be around 1%. Okay, so keep your eye on that as well. They're the different elements. So this is actually Burley Wood is a rare colour. You've got a Colt, Legendary here. If we just go back, what I generally like to do though is just type in the name here. So we got Snazzy Jazz. And remember, these are filtered by recently listed, so maybe not too many people have checked these. Okay, so 43 races, 2% win rate, 6% place. It's not too bad. And as we come down here, you can sort of refine the search criteria as well a little bit, but I generally like to have a look at the overall first. Positions, you can see this horse likes to finish 6th. Now we prefer horses that have a big high-rise tower in the 1 and 2. Okay, and also a lot of people prefer horses that have a big high-rise tower in 1 and last and 12th because it keeps them in the lower grades. Whether or not that will continue to be the classing system in the future, we're not sure. Okay, and then you can go odds by distance, and you can see this particular horse, not particularly great, you know, across the board. You know, sometimes you can see these cheap horses and it might have, you know, one distance where it's like $9 average. And you think, ooh, if I run that horse right at that distance, we might be onto something. And we can come down through here and check out the individual races as well. You've got the final position, 5th, gate number, odds of that particular race. So odds of winning, $29 or roughly 29 to 1, 30 to 1. And you've got the entry fee and how long ago the race was. Okay, so that's not a great horse, but if it was, you know, really, really cheap, and maybe it has, and it's come from really, really good parents, of course you can click Find on Zed Run, and we can see who the parents were. Maybe the parents are really, really talented, and the horse is really, really cheap, and it might be worth a bit of a gamble that it could be a good breeder. So you can see the parents aren't bad. Superb Story with a 13, nearly 14% win rate, and the mother here, Wink's Last Run at 6%. So there's some decent parents in there. This particular horse has had no offspring yet, so maybe it could be a great breeder with those decent parents. So that kind of horse, maybe it fits your style. We come to the next one, the Viola. We just click on Know Your Horses here again and it will return to the front page. we don't have to type in the whole word. There we go, the Viola, 7% win rate. Yeah, decent place rate, decent show. Okay, so show is the first, second, third. No, it's got to be first, second, third, fourth, is it? Because otherwise, that plus that. Oh no, place is first or second. Sorry, I thought place was second and third. Right, so show is first, second, third. Gotcha. Gotcha, gotcha. We talk differently about that in Australia. When we have a bet on a horse, we bet for win, that is first. And then if we bet for place, it is first, second or third. So we don't really have show. Okay, moving on down. So pretty good, but is this horse mainly a free racer? Because the free races are a little bit weaker and can pump up and elevate your stats. So here we can change from free to just paid. Let's see what the paid stats look like. No, it's pretty good. Look at that. 7.5% of paid races, this horse is a winner. It's not a bad horse, really, is it? It's not a bad horse. If we come down here, it finishes 5th and 7th a lot, but it does finish first a bit. Interesting graphs. And if we come down here, we can see the different odds here. So nearly 13s, 11s, 12s, 14s, 12s, 11s. So it's around about that $11 or $12. Not too bad. We click on Find on Zed and let's check out the parents. So it's a solid racer, this horse. It's probably not, if I just click back. Yeah, it's got a minus 20% ROI. So that means that roughly every $5 you put on, you're only getting $4 back, which is not great. You want that to be a plus number, you know, plus 20 or 30%, but your budget is going to need to be a little bit higher to get a plus number ROI. Now you do have to be careful because those plus numbers can be significantly inflated by free racing once again. So it's always a good idea to check what it's like at paid racing. Because some horses, in my stable, if my horse is not good enough for paid, I just keep putting it in the free races. And it does pretty well, wins a few races. Now this horse, parents, looks like the mum here, you can click on that and get more information, but looks like maybe hasn't run yet. And this one hasn't had any wins. So not great parents. The previous horse seemed to have better parents. And then as for the offspring, you know, looks like this one maybe hasn't run and this one's very limited win rate. So it's early days, it's hard to tell. Okay, but again, if you can get them really, really cheap, then you might start breeding and produce that one freak, and then all of a sudden everyone wants a horse from you from that particular mare or that particular stallion. Okay, so really it's all about, you know, aligning these criteria in OpenSea on the left to what you want to fit your vision as Zed Run moves forward, and then doing the research to make sure that, you know, if you're looking for a good racer, that it has a decent ROI and decent odds. If you're looking for a good breeder, you know, a proven breeder that might have had 10 or 12 offspring and has 2 or 3 decent horses in there, you know, all those different things. The more research you do, the better you'll know Zed Run, the better you'll align yourself, and you know, potentially the more better off, is that a word, the more better off? No. Potentially the better off you'll be as Zed moves forward, and hopefully Zed moves forward in the direction that suits your vision. Okay, and that's important. But I think in general, it's really important, at least for me, to have a vision of where Zed Run is going so that I can try and buy the horses that I think will best suit that vision. All right, thanks again for watching along. If you love NFT sports-based games, you're going to love Poseidon Racing, hit the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this video, I would love it if you could give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment in the comments below. Thanks again. Oh, remember, description below, links to the full playlist of this series, The Ultimate Beginner's Guide to Zed Run. Thanks again. Bye for now.